Hello, I'm Anna Mackay, and this video is on integer multiplication in the series on integers and indices. Just a reminder for my students, you need to be writing down everything that you see on the screen, both written and typed. So just a refresher on multiplication here. If we have two numbers that we're multiplying together and they have the same sign, then the result will be a positive number. So if they're both positive numbers to start with or both negative numbers, we'll end up with a positive answer. But if they are different signs, one is positive, one is negative, or vice versa, the final answer will be a negative number. So let's practice some of these. So remember to write down what you see. If you are asked to calculate the following, calculate is another word for working out or show, those types of words. Okay, so first of all, we're starting with negative 3 times by 4. So the way I like to do it is don't worry about the signs to start with, just think about the numbers. We've got a 3 and a 4 there. 3 times by 4 gives us 12. And then looking at the signs, we've got one negative number and one, well, you can't see the sign. And when you can't see the sign, it's a positive. So we've got two opposite signs there, so the answer must be a negative, negative 12. Next one, we have 7 multiplied by negative 5. Again, perhaps just think about the numbers. 7 times by 5 gives you 35. And we have one negative, so we'll have a negative 35. Part C, we have negative 8 times by negative 6. Again, you might like to think about just the numbers. 8 times by 6 would give us 48. But because we have two negative signs, the answer will become a positive number. So we will have 48. And as you probably know, we don't have to write the positive sign there. We can just leave it as 48. Moving on. 3 more examples. What if we have 3 terms here? That shouldn't be a problem. We're just going to work on one pair at a time. So we're going to work from left to right. Sometimes it's handy to underline in a different colour which pair that you're working out. So we're going to start with 3 times by 2. That gives us 6. And we must make sure that we write down everything else on the line that's there because we haven't used it yet. So we now have 6 times by negative 4. That will give us positive or negative 24. Negative 24. So there we are. Now this next one, hopefully you're familiar with that. It's 3 squared, and that means 3 times 3, or 2 lots of 3 if you like. So it's quite handy to write that out. 3 times 3, that gives us 9, and that's a positive number. This one over here, now that is negative 4 all cubed. So that means we want 3 lots of negative 4. So let's write that out first. We have negative 4 times by negative 4 times by negative 4. So similar to this question over here in the fact that it has 3 terms to work with. So let's do one at a time. Underline the ones that you're working with first. So first of all, we are doing negative 4 times by negative 4. That will give us 16. And will it be positive or negative? Well, there were 2 negatives, so that will become a positive. Now we must write down everything else on the line that we haven't used. So we must write down the times by negative 4. Now you may need a calculator to help you with this one, or if you know your 4 or 16 times tables, you'll know that we'll end up with 64. But is it a positive or a negative? Well, that's positive, this is negative, so they're opposite signs, so we end up with negative 64. Now just one last one to finish off, looking at the difference between these two. They look quite similar, but they'll give you different answers. This one here would be said as negative 5 all squared, whereas this one would be the negative of 5 squared. So let's write them out and see what answer we get. Negative 5 all squared means 2 lots of negative 5. So negative 5 times by negative 5 would give us positive 25. Whereas this one over here There's a few ways that you could write this out. Perhaps I'll show you. We would have one way of writing it is the negative of 5 times by 5. So it's the negative of 5 squared, which would give you negative 25. And you can write that without the brackets, negative 25. Another way to write it might be to, if you're comfortable with this, we have negative 5 times by 5. That's also correct. And then, as you can see, we'd have 5 times 5, which would give us 25, but one of them is negative, so our answer is negative 25. So just be really careful when you get negatives and powers to make sure that you think about where the brackets are and how to apply them correctly. That's the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And the next video in this series will be called Integer Division. Thank you.